There's enough riders here, if they all contribute, they can bring it back, but it does look, with gaps opening, arms waving, it doesn't look as if they're riding as a cohesive unit to come back there. So Tejada also for Astana, everybody getting involved with the chase. You've got many riders from many teams, and it's often the case when you don't get that collusion between all the teams, and it's the only way that they're going to come back. But I think Formula was riding because he wanted to try and get up to Pogacar and Grosjean. He was taking Zana, of course, with him, but he wanted to try and kind of help, because just look at the time gap, 22 seconds. It came down to 17, 18 seconds. But it looks as if Sivakov and Carapaz are holding them off.
Yeah, they're riding really, really well together on these roads. And 22 seconds. We saw on the climb that Pogacar, Pogacar, when he's fully at race fitness, it's fair to say he's for him, not at the moment, but he'll get there very quickly. He would be bringing that back easily, but maybe he's just not quite got the legs yet. As I said earlier, that is exactly why he's come and added this race and tomorrow's race to his program ahead of Ilha Lombardia later in the season. So those are the 4 checks you can see, time checks you can see on screen. 25 seconds, so it's looking good for Carapaz at the moment. There's Pogacar and Grosjean. Grosjean has been putting some big turns on the front of this pairing, as you would expect, but it hasn't come down yet. And we've got under 15 kilometers to go. There's the third group, Formolo and Zana. Zana riding on the front, the Jaco Alula rider. They brought a good team to this race, and there's still a podium, maybe more up for grabs. Who knows if they can close in. There's 4 riders up ahead, but that gap, again, it's been hovering about a minute 10, a minute 12 there. It hasn't come in at all, really, and it shows you just how good our 2 leaders are riding at the moment. And Zana perhaps and Formula perhaps going to get reeled in by this big group that are not too far behind.
I think they will, but I'm having a little bit more confidence in Carapaz and Sivakov now. Gap going out to 28 seconds. There was a choice, and I think Pogacar made the right choice in kind of waiting. It was questionable what UAE Team Emirates did on the climb, of course, just dragging everybody, and when Grosjean went on the attack there and Pogacar followed, and then he went back and kind of rode on the front. I think that maybe wasn't. I was trying to say at the time, just keep the 4 riders, keep Bennett and that, and go over the top of the climb and use the numbers when you get down the other sides. Well, they don't have numbers at the front now, and I think this is going to help Sivakov a little bit, because if it creeps up a little bit to maybe 40, 50 seconds, which is doable, then Sivakov has got that little bit of a buffer. And I think for Sivakov, you have to feel for him. You get beaten in the sprint in Sunday in Montreal, possibly beaten in the sprint here. It's, he's shown he's got the good form. I bet he wishes he had a bit more of a kick towards the end, but I think he just has to allow Carapaz to do a little bit more, try and save a little bit, and just test Carapaz a little bit in the running.
Excuse me. It's about the only option he's got now. It's looking like Pogacar and Grosjean are not going to reach these 2. There's still 12.5 kilometers to go, and just as you were saying there, Brian, we're seeing Sivakov just sitting on the wheel here, letting Carapaz do as much work, and that's probably going to be a feature of this run-in. It's the only option he really has. But he's looking relaxed, he's looking good. There's Pogacar and Grosjean. Pogacar about to take his turn, a little nod across to his teammate. And it's not the terrain that Grosjean perhaps excels in. He's such a strong climber, but he's still a quality bike rider. So
I really do think that the powerhouse in the front is Sivakov. He is probably the stronger of the 2. We saw that in the climb, but it's just Carapaz has got that better sprint. This is this kind of small lip that they've got. But Sivakov is continuing to ride. I still think it's still a little bit tight, 30 seconds. But I think he has to allow Carapaz to do a little bit more on the fronts and try and save something. He's on really, really good form.
Well, we see Pogacar here now on his own. It's a long race, 191 kilometers. He's not raced for a while, as we all know. And now Grossschartner up ahead. So these two splitting, which I'm pretty surprised to see, actually, Brian. I thought they would have been able to hold it together, so stay together to the finish. But I guess now Pogacar did have a little look across at Grossschartner and maybe just said, go for it, see what you can do.
Well, I think it's just a moment of, weakness for Pogacar that I still stand by that UAE Team Emirates did the wrong tactics on that climb. This does mean that Sivakov has got a bit of breathing space now that he can afford to allow Carapaz to do a little bit more. I don't think Grossschartner on his own is going to make that difference, but I think Pogacar, he tried as hard as he could. He knew that he was struggling a little bit today. They came back in the descent, but unfortunately we got on the flat at 17-18 seconds. It's just been, a little bit of a step too far, and I really do think that Pogacar is on his way back to the peloton behind.
Yeah,
he's just absolutely gone.
Up. Yeah,
can't get a drink. He won't allow. He's asking for a drink from the commissaire there, and they're not allowed. Not allowed to feed inside the last 20 kilometres, or until unless it's been designated 10 kilometres ago. But it does look as if 20 kilometres ago, not allowed. He wanted a drink, looked round to commissaire. Commissaire said no, and the cars just had to go and leave him. So I think he's probably felt confident today. That's why the team came up to the front. But he's just gone pop. Simple as that. And just needing that little bit of a drink. Well, these two are racing on, and Grossschartner is trying to hold on to that kind of final third podium place. But let's see what Sivakov has got left. There's no way he's just going to ride into the finish. I think he has to test out Carapaz.
Yeah, I think so as well. I think he's got to put the pressure on Carapaz and just maybe dig a little, see what Carapaz has got, but he's got to do it early. Grossschartner is in no man's land at the moment in third place, and the group just under a minute, the big group a minute behind Grossschartner. There is Pogacar here. His day is done, but he may have got what he wanted out of this one. We'll see how things are looking tomorrow for him. They did look good earlier. I agree with your tactic. The only way that I think they really had a chance was to have 4 riders coming into this section and just put the hammer down on the rest of the peloton, but it didn't work out that way. It's easily said, but once you're out on the climb, things are playing out as they do. But there's our 2 leaders, and they've been leading for much of the last 25 kilometers or so. Carapaz coming through to take another turn on the front, and that is just what Sivakov needs. And Carapaz, perhaps a bit more expressive rider. Just you'll see a bit more in the face from him. Sivakov just keeps his cards relatively close to his chest. Not a rider that you can read easily in terms of the facial expressions. So Grossschartner there. Well, he's still got 2 bottles. I wonder if he's keeping them for himself. Obviously well ahead of Pogacar, but maybe there'll be someone in the peloton that will lend Pogacar a bottle once he gets back there. But Grossschartner now, difficult one for him to try and hold on, but the gap still reasonably in his favour of about a minute with 8.8 to go.
Yeah, he should be able to. I think that's the goal. Pogacar, slowly but surely, he'll be collected by the peloton behind. I think he's just kind of half waiting. Like you say, no bottles on his bike. Couldn't get a bottle off his team car, and he's got Formolo and Bennett, I think, just behind anyway. But that kind of flamboyant riding he normally has, that kind of confident riding, it kind of backfired a little bit on that climb, and tactical wise they got it completely wrong. But Sivakov now has to kind of think about how he can win this race. Of course, Carapaz has played well. He couldn't really kind of go with Sivakov, but he came back in the descent. But on these roads, it's always very difficult to shake off someone, because all Carapaz, in his mind, he just has to stay with Sivakov. He stays with him, comes to the finish, he's the better sprinter. But Sivakov, on the other hand, has to play this a little bit more different, and try and have an opportunity to put Carapaz under pressure, and flat run in on a road like this. Where can you do it? It's difficult. The only thing you can do is sit on for longer. When Carapaz flicks the elbow, just say no, you're the better sprinter. But then when you do that, Carapaz knows that he's preparing himself to attack, and all Carapaz has to do is just jump directly onto the wheel.
It's of course the first race for Carapaz since the Tour, so we don't know just how much he's got in the end. So he's not been racing, maybe hasn't quite got the racing legs. So, and obviously Sivakov is going to know that. So if ever there was a day to really test Carapaz, today could be that day. So, and Sivakov is not going to want another second place. So yeah, it's, Carapaz.
Not a lot you can do.
No, not a lot indeed.
There's some people have made a career out of finishing second. Even this year, you have to think of Derek G of Israel Premier Tech, and the amount of seconds that he got.
That was fun back in the Giro, wasn't it? So, well, Carapaz abandoning the Tour after the first stage. Not exactly the season he wants, but a win here would certainly reignite it. He had an okay Dauphiné as well before that. So this is a return from injury for Carapaz, but a few other riders returning to injury as well. Louis Mentis as well. We've not actually seen him on that screen today, but he's in there as far as I believe. 6.4 to go. Nobody's catching these two, of course, and it is all about what Sivakov can do to try and shake off Carapaz. Or is Carapaz, the Ecuadorian, is he fresh? Is he ready to out-sprint his former teammate, Richard Carapaz?
So Pogacar now with Formolo and Zanuck. So he's got a little bit of help now, but I think the main action is there. It's just going to ask for Formolo for a drink now.
Yeah, and he gets one. Yeah.
Good
to have teammates. Good to have teammates at hand. Let's not go too west of Scotland, Brian, because I know we've got two of us here, and thankfully you can understand our accents. But if we commentate together anymore, I worry that we would drift into something that might not be understandable for our viewers around them. Posh Paisley. I don't know what Posh School Bride is like. But enough about that. 5.5 to go. Carapaz and Sivakov there at the front, and we're working back towards the town of Pontedera. That's where we started. It is where we will finish in this race.
It's a real difficult one for Carapaz. Sivakov now, with Carapaz being such a good finisher now, and clearly, really motivated to win this race today.
If you're Sivakov now, the Frenchman, at what point do you go for a little dig? We've still got under 5 to go.
Perfect.
This little climb would have been, yeah.
Just a test.
Just a little tester, and just see, all right, what have you got? You haven't raced for a while. We know that Sivakov has got the racing in the legs. He's got the form. He knows this race could be his, and that may have been the opportunity, or it may come a little later in this one. But running out of time, and the closer we get to the line, I think we're both on the same page with this one. The stronger it's going to be. It's looking for Carapaz.
Yeah, he'll just jump on everything. It's Sivakov. He's ridden well today. I think when he came to the front, it's not many riders can say that they've kind of ridden Carapaz and Pogacar off the wheel, but he's managed to do that. But he clearly has good form looking at the weekend result. But I'd be really surprised if he didn't try something in the running. Whether Ineos Grenadiers and Sivakov are happy just to put it down to the sprint in the end and and take second. You know, nothing's guaranteed, but you have to think Carapaz is just that little bit quicker in the end.
Well, under 4 to go, and it's Sivakov doing the work on the front of this pairing. Sivakov was first over the Monte Serra, the second time of asking. Carapaz joined him on the descent. Did think that perhaps Gross-Schartner and Pogacar were going to make this a group of 4 leading the race, but it hasn't played out that way. And now it's between these two for the win here in the Giro Della Toscana.
Sivakov, I think it has slowed down a little bit at the front now. Sivakov looks a little bit more relaxed. The gap to Gross-Schartner, 33 seconds. You've got to remember it went over 40 seconds, and I think they've relaxed a little bit more at the front, just thinking about the last kind of 3 kilometres. But if Sivakov is thinking something, he's leaving it really, really late.
It's not the most tricky of run-ins as well, so there's not too many opportunities where you can spring a surprise. The last 3 kilometres, you've got a long straight, a left-hander, 2 left-handers, and then quite a long right-hander onto the sprint for the line. So there's not many opportunities if you're going to do anything, and he's not got anything. Just going to see how this one shakes out once we get down to the line, and maybe hope that Carapaz has quite got the sprint in his legs, having not raced much this season. There's the view of the town. Famous scooter manufacturer based in this part of the world. We're in the Arno Valley. A couple of rivers meet here, the Era River and the Arno River. 20 kilometers away from Pisa. Now with 2 to go, Sivakov on the front here. 30 seconds back, 32 back to Gross-Schartner, who looks like he's going to hang on for 3rd place. It's time for Carapaz to take another turn. You see, it's just a little grimace, but I'm not reading too much into that one with Carapaz. It's how he always kind of rides. So these roads, great if you're on a time trial, but if you're trying to shake off, Carapaz, it's not going to be ideal. Traffic stop on the bridge and actually go back under the bridge here, which is quite handy. You might see the big group across the bridge. So round this left-hander. 1.4 to go. We've got one more.
There we go.
Oh, here we go. That's it. So Sivakov goes for it with 1.3 to go. Has Carapaz got anything? He's trying to match him just on that turn, and Sivakov is off.
Oh, he left it late. I've just seen him. I thought it might have been just laying off, but I just thought laying off because it was a roundabout. You know, he isn't kind of great descender, but just laid off. He left it until the last ramp to do it. Really, really, must have been really confident, but I did believe that he'd eased off a little bit because Gross-Schartner he wasn't losing. In fact, he was gaining. So that's all he needed, just one little ramp, and he just waited to the last one to do it, and it looks as if he's going to take this one.
Well, tactically it has worked out well. Carapaz is still going, trying it, perhaps in vain, through this longer right-hand turn. 700 meters or so to go for Pavel Sivakov, second in Montreal just a few days ago, and now looking like he's going to ride away to victory, but Carapaz still charging, and Sivakov's not got much left. Now you can see the grimace on his face. Can he hold on? We're on the final sprint for home, and Pavel Sivakov, Ineos Grenadier, trying to get to that line. He looks over his shoulder. He's going to do it. Sivakov tactically gets it absolutely spot on in the final kilometre and a half. Carapaz comes across the line in second, and Brian, we were getting a little worried for Sivakov, but he got it absolutely spot on.
No, I'm pleased, really pleased for him. You left it late. You left it to the last one. Sometimes what you might want to do is just kind of test out, because sometimes if you leave it late and it doesn't come off, you really don't know what Carapaz had left in the legs. But It was perfect in the end. You know, there was questions over the tactics of UE Team Emirates. They do get third with Groschartner here. But, you know, I'm really, really pleased for Sivakov taking that one. He deserved it. He was the strongest rider in the race. He took with him quite a good finisher in Carapaz, but I was just thinking big wide roads. And when he backed off in that roundabout, I thought, right, it's just because of the roundabout he's backed off. And then he went, and you could see straight away that was it. And that's why I said it, that was it, because Carapaz just didn't have that punch left in the legs.
Next group coming across the line, this battle for fourth place. It's a couple of the UAE Team Emirates riders in there. Formolo, Pogacar and Zana there. And now Pogacar's found a little bit more on this final sprint for the line. Hopefully we see them cross the line. Well, there, Pogacar.
He got a drink.
Yeah, that's what he needed. And he holds off Zana. Finishes in fourth, so there'll be some good lessons learned today for Pogacar, and it's after a nice break over the summer. So now main bunch coming across for the final places. And Ethan Hayter in there as well. Just trying to see if he can get there. He doesn't have any lead out, but he's going for it. Ethan Hayter, look at across.
Albanese.
Yes, Albanese there, but Ethan Hayter taking the bunch sprint for 7th place. Struggle with my maths. I think it was 7th. We'll see. Well, a good day for Ineos Grenadiers, and a good few days for Sivakov. And after, fair to say, a little bit of disappointment missing out on a win, comes back in his next race, and Sivakov takes it.
Well ridden there, because I was watching the gap in Groschartner alone, because when he was with Pogacar, they were putting time into the Pogacar and Groschartner.
Mid-September date. UAE Team Emirates, I think they did try, they controlled things onto the Monte Sierra, the final, the second of 2 laps, but as Brian, you were saying, tactically perhaps made an error. And we see, looking back on Pogacar's sprint after he's had his little drink and finding a little bit more power, just testing those legs out in the sprint. Looked pretty good on the climb just until the last kilometre.